Hi guys, so I'm back with a new video and let's talk about challengers. So I know I kind of took a break for 2 weeks. It wasn't really intentional. I had other videos planned, but then I went on a trip and then I just had to settle in. There's one video in the works from my trip, so be on the lookout for that one. I have edited most of that video. I just need to do one or two things, and so it will be up pretty soon, but probably not before this video, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, this is my video after 2 weeks, and I'm really happy that I got to see this one because I was really looking forward to it. And yeah, I guess let's just go into it. So I'm gonna give you a summary of the film, even though when I went into it, I didn't exactly know. And this summary, it's basically the whole film, but I'll get to it. So Challengers is about this guy, Art, that is a tennis player and is in a losing streak. And in order to get him out of that, his coach, who is also his wife, Tashi, she decides to register him for like a pretty easy like tournament. But things get a bit like problematic when he goes against his former best friend as well as Tashi's ex-boyfriend. So they were, it's this triangle thing. What we knew about this film, I think there were a lot of buzz about the film because of the teaser trailer, which suggested like a threesome. And yeah, that was everything that I kind of knew about the film. I knew the main actors, and I knew it was about tennis. I've seen that teaser trailer, which got me kind of excited about the film, not gonna lie. And I knew this was a Luca Guadagnino film, and that was enough for me to be interested in. Like, I feel like I wasn't super into Call Me By Your Name, but I can still see that it's a good film. But ever since like Suspiria and Bones and All are some of my all-time favorite films. So I think Luca couldn't really do anything wrong. So my expectations were kind of high. So let's see if those expectations were met. But before I get to my thoughts, I have to talk about who stars in it. I think we all know who stars in the film, but in case you don't know, it stars Zendaya, Mike Faist, and Josh O'Connor. I think both faces, like all the three faces, are pretty recognizable. And yeah, now let's get to my thoughts. So, this did not disappoint me at all. This was my movie. I feel like I haven't seen a movie that I really liked in a long time. Obviously, I really enjoyed Dune. Like last few films that I've seen, I liked Dune Part 2, and I did like Immaculate, and I liked Argyle. I think those are the standouts this year. Monkey Man as well. But one that was just my thing, like it was with Bones and All, this was my film. Like, I was so into it, and everything about it screamed what I like. So I'm not a huge fan, but I do like to watch tennis. I do love me some like love triangles, and I like some steamy romances. So this was perfect, and everything about this film like was so well made. I would say the only thing that isn't like, it's not even the best, but it was misleading, was all the talks about like the threesome and the steamy scenes and how explicit it is. It is not explicit like at all. Yes, there are steamy scenes and sexual scenes, but they are pretty tamed in my opinion, and compared to other films that I've seen. there is sort of a threesome. Yeah, there's more to it, and but so I that's the only thing that I think the movie or the campaign was kind of misleading. It's not that shocking at all, but everything else was perfect. Like the directing, the scenes, like the camera movements, the camera placements, the color palette. There are so many different things, and every single like shot has a new take. There are so many amazing shots in this film. The chemistry between the actors I loved. Like this film works not only because of Luca, obviously, but the actors do like, I would say 70% of the job. And everyone talks about Zendaya, but honestly, I think the chemistry between Mike Fast and Josh O'Connor is like so good. If you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like the chemistry between those two is wild. I loved it. And then the soundtrack, like the soundtrack, I was so into it right away. And then at the end of the film, I read who was in charge of the music, and it was the Nine Inch Nails guy. So they also did Bones and All, and they did like Gone Girl, and they did Social Network. So they are great, and I love the soundtrack of this film. Like it's so good. As for the story, like it's a pretty simple story that relies on the acting and on the tension building, because it's pretty thrilling to see like the chemistries and the triangle and the tennis. Like it is pretty focused on the tennis and like the matches, and I really like that. It was so captivating. I was so into it throughout the whole film, and yeah, I loved it. I don't think you need to know a lot about tennis, but I think you would benefit from knowing a little bit. I'm not an expert by any means. I know the basics. So yeah, I think that's enough, and I totally recommend this film. It's so good. I guess now let's go to my scores. So overall, I'm gonna give the film a 4.5 out of 5. This is my favorite film of the year so far. Yes, I'd like it more than Dune Part 2, just because I feel like the vibe of this film is way more my style. Dune is amazing, but it's like really sci-fi based, and this one is just, yeah, I just love everything that Luca does. At this point, I'm gonna watch anything that he does. I think he's amazing. So yeah, in cinematography, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. I love the look of the film, the shots, as I said, the camera movements, the color grading, and obviously there with the soundtrack and the score. Everything was so good. And originality, I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. That's like the like not so good thing about the film, because it is a pretty basic story that I think is just enhanced with the tennis, because I don't think there are a lot of movies about tennis. The only one that I can think of is Match Point. I think that's how it is, with Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. So there aren't a lot of movies focused on tennis, but there are a lot of movies like focused on love triangles, and I don't know, it's not super original, but there's an edge to this. Like, yeah, I think it's the performances and how Luca addressed everything on a visual, on a visual aspect. So yeah. So guys, this was pretty short because I don't have basically any flaw to point to this film. I was so thrilled, so entertained, so into it. And if you liked any of Luca's other films, I think you'll love this one. I loved Bones and All and Suspiria. They all are kind of different but have the same vibe at the same time. So I think if you liked Bones and All, this has almost the same vibe. It's way more like upbeat and a bit more like thrilling. The other one is a bit more like romantic and dark. This one is a bit more upbeat. So I totally recommend it. It has great performances, a great story. It's a great soundtrack. I love the soundtrack. So yeah, I totally recommend it. And if you've seen it already, let me know in the comments what you thought. Let me know which one is your favorite Luca Guadagnino film. I still think Bones and All is my favorite because it's just, I love the film. But they are all so good. And yeah, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!